And if everyone could turn their computers on mute, that would be great. And again, if you want to turn on your camera so we can see your beautiful face, especially because now we're recording it, and you want to wave to all your coworkers, hi Paulette, so that they could see you when they're watching this. Thank you. Everybody wave. Good, wake up, participate. Thank you. Okay, a little bit about me for those of you who do not know me. I worked in recruiting for 25 years. I loved it. Without me doing that job, I could have never supported my family. I started as a single mom at 20 years old in recruiting, and I had no college degree. I had no other place to go. Failure was not an option. And I did well in recruiting, and I did so well in recruiting. When I got married, my husband didn't work. And so I supported 5 people when I was in that career. And then I did so well in it, I got to buy a house. And then I got to buy another house. And it's not about things, it's about having freedom and about having your dreams come true and wishing something and then being able to deliver it. And it's about all those family experiences I had when I had my home and my summer home and the freedom to take the kids to Disneyland and on vacation. And so we often set goals because we want to get something. We want to get a house. We want to get Disneyland. For me, I wanted to write a book. We want to write a book. But we often lose sight of why. And this workshop is about your why, what's important to you. Now, most of you, if not all of you, filled out your 9 environments. The awareness of taking an inventory of our 9 environments, you'll see in a few minutes why that's important. The environment that we surround ourselves with inside, under our skin, in our heart, in our brain, in our span of thinking, and the environment of our car, and the environment of our house, and the environment of our bedroom, of our office. All that environment gives us energy to tune in to what's important to us or to distract us from what's important to us. And so we'll be talking about the 9 environments. And I wanted you to know the reason I had you take that survey is so you could get present to what you love about your life right now and what you want to love about your life after doing some reps, doing some discipline, working on yourself, working on your goals, working towards your goals. So we'll get started. This workshop is called Evolve. It's about evolving the leader within, evolving you, the person sitting on the other end of your camera. Rise in is a role, a place you work, a place you contribute, a place that pays you for your contribution. And it's a community, it's a network of other people who are also goal setting. So the beauty of being with 25 of your best friends at work is everyone is up to the same thing. Everyone has goals and dreams, and an environment of recruiting, which I just told you about how grateful I am that I started my career there. You can have anything you want for your life because you have agency and authority and autonomy to go get it. Your success is up to the person on the other end of the camera. And that's what this workshop is about. So, our brain, it's important that you understand how your brain works on goals and how your brain works to get you what you want so you can program your own program rather than being programmed by the news, being programmed by what you think you should do, being programmed by how some candidate treats you. The brain is like your supercomputer. And this part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, this is where all your critical thinking, where your discernment is. Is this a good candidate that will honor their word? And can they deliver what they said they would deliver? Is this a good client that will treat my candidate well? That comes from your prefrontal cortex. Matching comes from your prefrontal cortex, a combination of your right hemisphere. Right hemisphere helps you make connections with people, helps you get creative, it helps you set goals, it helps you tune in to what's going on around you, situational awareness. The left hemisphere is the logical part of your brain. Does this candidate have the qualifications? Does this candidate say the things that I need to hear when I ask questions? It's the part of your brain that sorts critical from noise. The left hemisphere is your critical thinker, your logic. Does 1 + 1 = 2? You need them both for recruiting. Today, we're going to work on the right hemisphere integrated with the left hemisphere because you need whole brain thinking to set goals. You need the part of your brain that can envision a future, the part of your brain that does vision boards if you do them the right way. It's right hemisphere. The left hemisphere says, how am I going to have that vision board come to life? What do I need to do? How many times do I need to go to the gym? How many steps do I need to take a day? How many homemade meals do I need to eat a week? How many motivational books do I need to read? How much money do I need to make? What does my quota need to be? That's all left hemisphere. The brain is your supercomputer. And the reason I'm saying that is because when you're hot, you're hot. The brain can figure anything out. Unless you have a piece of your brain that's missing, you have the same brain that everyone else on this call does and that everybody in the world does. We all have the same brain. How we interact with our brain, how good we are for our brain, determines how good our brain will be for us. So when you are in thinking mode, you're in this part of your brain. When you think about your goals and what you want for your life, you put your hand, everybody take your left hand, place it at the top of your neck where your neck touches your skull. That's the part of your brain that your motivations live inside of, your values live inside of. That's the power of why that Simon Sinek talks so beautifully about, comes from the very ancient part of your brain, the very backbone of who you are. So when you're setting goals, you don't want to set your goals because Kimmy asked you to do it. You want to set your goals because something inside you wants to be fulfilled. And you have to learn and understand your why. Because if you set a goal, I want to place 25 candidates a month, or that was my goal back in the day, or 10 or 5 or 3, if you set the goal just because your left hemisphere said, if you want to make $200,000 or $50,000 or $1 million, you got to do XYZ to make that money, that's your left hemisphere. But it's the right hemisphere that says, what am I going to do with that money when I get it? And what does it do for me? Who can I give to? How can I contribute? What can I get from my children? How can I support my community? How can I support myself? And so it's important to understand your why, and we're going to start there in a few minutes. Often, we are at crossroads all day long. A crossroad could be as easy as, oh, there's Dunkin' Donuts. Do you guys have Dunkin' Donuts where you live? Just give me a thumbs up if you do. Or a donut shop. There's a donut shop. I want to go to a donut shop. There's Orange Fitness, the health club, a yoga center, or an organic food place. Oh, what are my goals? What are my values? Who am I as a person? What's the better choice? The donut shop or the health place? Now, I'm not making a judgment that donuts are bad. If you do not have a goal for health and fitness, or if you have a goal that says, man, I want to treat myself to something juicy and sweet and delicious, I'm going to the donut shop. That's a simple choice that you make, let's say in the morning. Another choice is, which candidate do I work with? Do I work with the candidate who has the perfect resume, but they're not very nice and they don't call me back? And when I ask for references or anytime I ask them questions, they're defensive, but boy, do they got a juicy resume. It says exactly what the employer wants. Or do I make a choice of the person who calls me back, who answers my questions, who's respectful and grateful for the contribution I'm making, and they have three things on the resume the employer wants, but not the other two. But I know, because I'm using my prefrontal cortex, that they could learn. And I'm a salesperson and I know how to sell the person over the resume. Because when it's all said and done, the resume gets hired and the person gets fired. Y'all know what I mean by that? Yes. Hello. So, choices around your goals. You're going to set goals, because this is a goal setting workshop. And then the choice to do the work that needs to be done to fulfill the goal. You will have that choice point every day, 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 every moment in time. How do you stay on track? You make sure your vision is clear. You know your why, you know your what, and you know what's going to happen when those things happen. Set such an inspiring goal for yourself when you achieve. So, for example, I have had a goal of being a size 8 for as long as I can remember. I also had a goal to have lean arms, and I also had a goal to have clear breathing and to have straight teeth and white teeth. Believe it or not, this is like my image goal and my how I will know on the outside of my body that I feel good about myself. So I don't set a goal around my size, around my firm arms. I set a goal on what I'm going to do when I achieve that. Like, I'm going to walk the Camino de Santiago, or I'm going to go to Peru to the jungle, or I'm going to go to Italy and take a meditation retreat. Because all that working out and that going to the health club and eating healthy, that's not that inspiring to me all the time. But being in the kind of shape I need to be to walk 200 miles on the Camino de Santiago, that's inspiring. So we want to have the stuff of the goal. Oh, I got to go to Orange Theory 3 days a week. But what am I going to do with that fitness when I get it? This is beyond the why. This is the what happens in my life. How am I going to treat myself when I achieve that? A lot of people set goals like, I'm going to pay off debt. And when they say, I'm going to pay off debt, their face even looks like, I'm going to pay off debt, versus I am financially free. I spend, save, and invest wisely. You see the difference? Instead of, I'm going to pay off debt, I raise my level of financial stability by 25% this year. Because the brain, here's what happens to your brain, and you might not know it, and you might not know that you don't know it. Your brain holds on to negativity. Negativity is like Velcro. We have something called an ego. We're not going to talk a lot about the ego in this workshop, but your ego was designed physiologically to help you escape almost certain death by a saber-toothed tiger or by a lion. People call it the amygdala, but the amygdala supports a human being in developing their fear of being eaten alive, of dying, of being poor, of being on the side of the road. That fear helps all of us invent all this personality. And part of our personality really works, but part of our personality gets in our way. It tells us what we're not, what we can't do. And so you want to have the goals written in a way that is positive. It's not like, I'm paying off debt, I'm losing 20 pounds. No, I'm a size 6 and I look fabulous at 60 in a bikini. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Positive. The brain will hold on to negativity. It's like Velcro. Your boss says you didn't meet your quota, and your brain hears, I'm not good enough. I suck. I'm terrible. This job is hard. I should quit. versus you didn't meet your quota. If the brain would just be open to say, oh, I'm not going to take that as a cut. I'm going to get really curious on how I do meet my quota. And maybe you guys don't use words like that. I'm using general words because I would probably not have enough word for quota, goals. Quota is like you have to produce. Goal is it would be nice if I did that. An overarching intent is how awesome my life is going to be when I do that. If you want this, you guys are going to get this. This is a QR code. You can download this kick-ass ebook. It's called From Friction to Flow. And when you are beating yourself up for not going to the gym, for eating that donut, for not making 50 calls or whatever you guys have to do a day, for that candidate that did a turn down after they told you they would take the job, and you're feeling down, use the tools in this book how to get into back to a state of creativity. Here's what you need to know, folks. When you are off track, which we'll talk about in a minute, when you are out of alignment and you try to be productive, you'll spin your wheels. But when you tune in to what's important to you, to this model, which we're going to talk about in a second, when you turn on your excitement for your role and how much opportunity you have, when you tap into all your smarts, your innate intelligence, there's no stopping you. There is no stopping you because people will want to work with you. They will be attracted to how powerful you sound on the phone. I don't care what accent you have or what continent you live in. Confidence is confidence and power is power, and people will want to communicate with you. And if you're not talking on the phone and you're just emailing, it will show up in your emails. So let's talk how to do it. First and foremost, you need an aim. You need an aim. When I was in recruiting, the first question I would ask all my candidates, and I told you that my numbers were 25 placements a month. I was a rock star in that field. And I'm not like an old football player, like, and then I stopped recruiting and my life didn't work out. I moved on to something else, which I am also very good at. But in recruiting, I had a gift. And the one question I would ask every candidate is, if money and pedigree weren't in your way, what would you be doing for work every day? What lights your fire? What turns you on? Those are two other ways of asking the same question, but I asked it the first way and you have it recorded. Every single candidate said, no one's ever asked me that before. And then they started talking about their dream. And then we would get, okay, great. So we can't get that right now, but what would be one step closer? What could be one step closer? Now, the reason I share that with you is because I learned way back then of how to find a name. So for you, I want everybody to take a pen, not your computer, a pen and paper, and I want you to write down the 5 things you love to do. Don't think too hard about it. Just write down the 5 things you love to do. When time stops for you, what are you doing? When you're in your joy space, what are you doing? Are you hiking? Are you talking to a candidate? Are you cooking? Are you painting? Are you doing weights? Are you walking down to the beach? Are you getting trained or giving training? Are you coaching people? What do you love? There's something you love about your work. Definitely add your work stuff on here. Don't just add fun stuff. Because without work, sometimes there ain't no fun. So when I did this for myself, I started seeing common themes. I looked at all the sentences and what were the common themes. Common themes for me were people. Another theme was experiences, and another theme was fulfillment. My aim is people are fulfilled. That is my purpose of my life. I am not saying you all need to have a purpose of your life that is global for humanity. I do, because it's what I do. It's an expression for me. It's a natural expression for me. People are liberated is my aim. How my aim shows up at my job is I liberate the human spirit at work. What I do for a living now is I write books like Ignite Culture. I'm on the public speaking circuit, so I speak at all the HR conferences, the CEO conferences, the chambers, and I share with people my methodology for evolving the leader within and living a life of influence, contribution, and joy. Who wouldn't want that? So my personal aim, people are liberated, is totally connected to what I do for a living. And what I did for a living before was place people in jobs. I gave people the dignity of working in a position that was a self-expression for them. Finding a company that was a good match, that gave them agency in their career choice, right? Autonomy, because they felt like they were part of the process with me, and authority over what they were saying yes and no to. On a side note, so many recruiters treat people like they're a butt in a seat or a fill in a hole. When you treat people like you want to be treated and you shepherd them into this opportunity to have dignity and respect and income, which is one of the highest needs. Income ranks right up there with oxygen in the world we're living in, no matter where you live. So your aim could be anything that has anything to do with serving people. Because when you say my aim is to make as much money as I can, that doesn't tap into your heart. It taps into your head. If money is your aim, my question for you is, what would you do with that money? Sit on your private island in Hawaii and have all this money like a mad scientist? Or will you go out and serve people with it? Will you take your family places with it? Will you have experiences? So the aim is the bigger thing. I'm going to give you 5 elements to create a calling. And we're going to do that on this call. And then I'm going to put you into breakout rooms so you can share your calling with people. So the 5 elements to a calling is number 1. Now, when I say calling, you could hear dharma, you could hear purpose, you could hear aim. In the yoga world, they use the word aim. In the 8 limbs of hatha yoga, it's aim. Dharma is more of in the Eastern cultures, and purpose is, like the US, we have to be on purpose. But this is not your goals. We're not at the goals yet. So the calling is my way of saying, why are you here? What are you up to? What do you want to accomplish? So the 5 elements of a calling are: 1, it has to be real for you. It has to be something that means something to you. It can't be, my calling is to place people at Ryzen, because that comes from an outside source. Your calling comes from your soul, your heart, your whole brain thinking. So it creates an internal sense of purpose and an experience of being grounded, of being on track. When you say it, it speaks to you. It calls you to be. Now, why is this important? It's really important when we're living in a world of volatility, uncertainty, chaos, complexity, confusion, ambiguity, stress, concern, fear. We have to have something pull us out. And the only thing that we have power over, agency and authority over, is our response to the world. And so the calling helps you stay above the power and freedom line, which we'll talk about in a minute. Your calling, and this is the 3rd element of a calling, is you're the source of it. I just actually said that. It lives inside of you. Kimmy doesn't have to call you in the morning and say, what's your calling? You can call her and say, hey, this is my calling and this is how I'm going to deliver on it. It's what you're saying is the most important thing in your life. It isn't just about money. Notice there were 9 environments. There was self, there was beliefs, there was the space in which I work, there was my community, my family. Life is about much more than our job. Our job, our career is a resource to fulfill our dharma, our calling, and to put money in the bank and food on the table. That's the beauty of a career. You can find things you love about it and connect it to your aim, and then print money if you do what you're doing, if you do something you love. The calling, number 4, is what you're saying. Oh, I already said that. What you're saying is the most important to you. It is so powerful, it moves you into action. Remember, standing at the corner with a choice. If health and fitness, let's say your aim is to live a life of contribution, you can't live a life of contribution if you're sick in bed. Or if you have diabetes and you've been told no donuts and then you keep getting donuts. Or if you have like a gluten problem and you're eating donuts. So I just use that as an example. I'm not down on donuts. I had a donut on vacation. Um, but it calls you into action to take steps towards your goal. And then for bonus, number 6, it's a natural self expression for you. It gives you access to vitality, freedom, and personal power. So I want you to take a couple minutes and try writing a calling. My calling is, like my calling is people are liberated. Years ago, mine was I am a conduit for people to embrace their power. When I was in recruiting, I was the source for gainful employment for people in jobs they loved. So everybody has, at a different stage of your evolution, a different kind of aim. So I'm just going to give you 2 minutes to write, and then I'm going to put you in a breakout room.
Margot,
Yes?
go over the 5 again.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it. Okay. The first one is it needs to be real to you.
It has to be real for you. It has to be authentic for you.
Okay.
It gives you a sense of belonging and fulfillment.
How about number 2?
It creates an internal sense of purpose. Like imagine being rooted with a sense of energy going up and down your backbone, into the universe, down to the earth. 3, you know you're the source of it. It comes from within. Number 4, you are saying this is your ultimate concern. 5, it moves you into action. You don't want to lay on the couch and eat popcorn and watch reruns of Yellowstone. You want to go into action. And if that's your entertainment, and it's not in the middle of the day and that's not when you work, like, you know what I mean. And last bonus, it's natural. It's just who you are. People meet you and they're like, yeah, I get it. Nobody's going to be grading this. You're only sharing it with one other person. Some of you might be with 2 other people, but I think because we have so Kimmy, you do the breakouts for your group, but only share with one other person or it'll take too long. And all you're saying is my aim is, or my calling is, and it's not like this big, long, I didn't put this in there. I should have put it in there. It's not a big, long, dramatic explanation. You could remember it when you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, when you're brushing your teeth. My calling is. You guys ready?
Yes.
Okay. 2 minutes, 1 minute each. Okay, everybody's coming on back. Welcome back. And if you could mute yourselves, that would be great. Okay, so now you have your aim, and another word for aim is ultimate intent. By the way, when we work with companies and we do our organizational culture work, instead of aim there, it would be noble cause. What's their why? Okay, everybody make sure you mute yourself. Thank you. So the next thing for the model of living a life of fulfillment and evolving and spending your time above the power and freedom line versus below. So now the environment. The environment is the energy inside of you. It's how your body works. It's the environment under your skin. And then, as some of you might know this or not, but our body emits energy, and something called your aura is about 6 inches around your body. And when you're having a bad day, your energy impacts other people. When you're a beacon of light and love, your energy impacts other people. And so the aligned part of the model is, what are my values? What's important to me as a human? And what do I need to create in my environment to have alignment? So my aim is people are liberated. I'm giving you my example. For my environment, I need 3 things: community. I need to be always working in community. Look at what I do for a living. I go out and work with communities and create communities and train those communities to be positive catalysts for positive change, to be people that people want to be around. So community is one of my core values. Another one of my core values is integrity. People that know me will say she does what she says and then some. It's important for me that I am keeping my relationship with myself, my word. When we break our promises to ourselves, we don't have a lot of integrity. And often when we easily break promises to ourselves, we easily break promises to other people. And so integrity for me is a core value. And my third value is abundance. And by abundance, I mean freedom. I mean ability to contribute at the highest level, the freedom to be able to go walk the Camino for 3 weeks, or to maybe walk the Camino for 6 weeks. So look for yourself. What's important to you? Like, look around. What values do you have? Is a family a value for you? Is the place you live, like, is beauty, aesthetics a value to you? Is nature a value to you? Is freedom a value to you? Is autonomy a value to you? Like self-control, self-authority, self-belief, is that a value to you? Is financial stability a value to you? Is travel a value? Write down all the things. If we had more time, I would read you a big long list. And if you need help, tell me and I'll give you more examples. I'm just going to flash back to seeing your faces. Do you want me to give you more examples, or are you good? I gave you enough for your values. More means give me the thumbs up. You have enough means don't do anything. You want more. A couple want more. So those of you that don't need more, just start writing down the first one was, what do you love to do? This prompt is, what is important to you? What, when you think about your values, what resonates as being critical for you? Could be words like responsibility. Responsibility could be important to you. It could be that tradition and the rules are important to you. It could be that hard work is a value to you. It could be that leisure and relaxation is a value to you. Meditation could be a value to you, even though it's something to do, or maybe mindfulness could be a value to you. Um, what are some other values? Um, I already said family relationship. Here's some other words. Excellence could be a value to you. Advocacy could be a value to you. Balance could be a value to you. Now, don't write down every single thing, only write down what speaks to you as, yeah, if I had that in my life, and when I have that in my life, I feel like I'm on track. Growth, learning could be a value to you. Generosity could be a value to you. Volunteering could be a value to you. Resilience could be a value to you. Trustworthiness, usefulness, well being. I have a whole exercise. Normally, we only give this to people during the Ignite Power annual immersion retreat. But if you want it, email me at Magi, MAGI, at Keen Alignment, and I'll send you this 6-page values, 5-page values um, little workbook that can help you. So, just to be clear, your values, when you're living them, when you're conscious to them, when you're paying attention to them, they create an environment for you that is conducive of you fulfilling your aim. They keep you on track. They give you the juice you need, the high octane fuel you need to stay the course. They are the gas in your tank. When you live in alignment, that's why the name of my company, my last company was Keen Hire. This company is Keen Alignment. That's why the name of my company is Alignment, because when people are operating in service of their aim and they are creating environments that are conducive to their values, then they create a culture around themselves that propels them into fulfilling their dharma, their purpose. So for you, you all work at the same company. And when we do this work that I talk about in Ignite Culture, for Align, we have the word environment, but we might as well call environment the ecosystem that we work in, whether we're remote or live. We could call Aligned in this model the ecosystem that you live and breathe inside of. When you have a purpose for your life and you have an environment or an ecosystem that is aligned with that, you'll be of higher influence. When you talk to candidates, when you talk to each other, when you talk to employers, because you're so clean and clear about what's important to you and you're living on track, you're in alignment, your environment is supporting you, your ecosystem is supporting you, you're just naturally vibrating at a higher level. You know, that aura around you is positive white light, and you're influencing people without even trying. It's natural. So let's talk about the third piece, and that's path. And the path is the path you walk, what you do, how you do it. We call it architecture. In the corporate world, when we're working on emergent culture, and that means a culture that people thrive in the face of chaos and change, and they're highly innovative, we say you need architecture. Now, hiring process, and you know a little bit about that, is architecture in the workplace. Onboarding is architecture in the workplace. Make sure everybody mutes themselves because we could hear someone clearing their throat, and we just want this recording to be clear for those who will get it. So back to architecture, it's easy to see the workplace and say, yeah, we have onboarding, we have hiring, we have goal setting. That's all architecture. Architecture for yourself in your own evolution is framework for how you're going to operate in your 112 hours. If you wake up at 5 a.m., if you're on this continent, the United States, the North America continent, if you're on this continent and you wake up at 5 a.m. and go to bed at 10 p.m., and you do that every day of the week, you have 112 hours of wake time. You have to do your own math for when you wake up and when you go to sleep. But let's just say you're a 5 a.m. and a 10 p.m. You have 112 hours. Now, If you work 60 hours a week, that's about 60% of those 112 hours. Yeah, well, yeah, I think so because 120, so would be 50. So it's about 55%. You want to make sure that whether you're working, and by the way, you work 70% of your waking hours in most cases, including driving to work or getting ready for work or reading or learning. You want to make sure that you're bringing the best out in yourself and you set the architecture up for you to win at work. So many people, and you know that with candidates you interview, they blame their manager. My manager gives me too much work. The expectations are too high. They're not giving me enough. But this model is about you having agency, autonomy, and authority for your own life, and you setting up the architecture, the work habits, the disciplines of when you'll work out, when you'll meditate, if you do that, when you'll stretch, when you'll pray, when you'll review your goals, you setting up the architecture for that so that the cobblestones along your path lead you to your aim. That's how you're going to be the highest level of contribution, is that your actions that you take get you to where you want to take. So I'll give you some examples of, again, the path. Let's say my aim is people love their work. Let's just say that that's my aim. And I happen to do recruiting, because you don't have to do recruiting to have an aim of people love their work. You could be an executive coach. Like I am not doing recruiting anymore, and mine is about liberating people at work. But whatever your aim is, your aim could be families are provided for, families thrive, people have another aim could be people have agency, autonomy, and authority over their life. Because when you're working, you have more agency, autonomy, and authority over your life. Anyway, we're back at the path. The choice point for path, if my aim is people love their work, people thrive at work, and my values are work ethic, responsibility, and empowerment, and that has me feel a certain way and have a higher level of influence. And that's the ecosystem I create around me at home, at work, with my friends, on the weekends, all of it. Empowerment is part of it, right? All of that. Then I say, what am I going to do? Choice point. Do I go out drinking all night on a school night, come into work hungover, or do I go to bed at 9 or 10 or whatever hour from the continent I'm on? And do I wake up early and do I go work out? Do I get my body and my head and my spirit ready to go deliver those things I want to deliver? Choice point. The path, the doing along the way is what delivers the aim and those goals. Your goals is a path. The milestone to your goals is a path. And then in those 9 environments, you've got things you've got dialed in really tight, and there's other things you don't. Maybe networking is important to you. Maybe even though you're doing global recruiting, you want to do some reps and build your muscle at your communication style or meeting new people or confidence. So maybe one of your path is I'm going to join my local chamber, or I'm going to do online networking, and I'm going to get really good at meeting new people, not for my job, but for my whole life, because it's going to impact my whole life. So now what you want to do is I put you into a breakout room, but you're going to look at your values and how they create your ecosystem. So you're going to talk to the person that you're in the breakout room with. Here's my values, and here's how they help me create an ecosystem where I can thrive. Remember, environment is not doing anything. The doing is the path. The environment is how I feel in the places I go during the day, what I bring with me. Maybe I have an environment of love. Maybe that's one of my values. And wherever I go, whether it's Starbucks or the coffee shop or the gym or the veterinarian or when I volunteer or I'm on a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting, I bring love. And that's just who I am. So you're going to name three of your values. If you have more than five, probably it's too many, but you can work on that as you refine throughout the year. You're going to share three values and how they create the ecosystem for you to fulfill your aim, dharma, purpose, calling. And then you're going to share, we're going to first do a homework assignment. I mean, not a homework because we're together, but an assignment. And then you're going to share with your person what are three things you know you need to do, not just actions. Like I have to have conversations, but hey, I'm going to join a networking event and I'm going to get great at networking this year. I know I need to do 100 outreaches or 50 outreaches to make the amount of placements that I want to make in the year or in the month. And then I know I have to work out because when I don't work out, I have all this nervous, cloggy energy and it makes me distracted at work. And I constantly am scrolling on TikTok because I take diversions and I'm all diverted. Maybe one of your paths is to turn this thing off during work hours. Or there's a class that I took called Flow Research Collective. We actually share their distinctions in our Ignite Power retreat, but they teach you how to turn off all your notifications and tell you that every time you get a notification, it distracts your brain. It pulls you out of work mode and it takes 20 minutes for you to get back on track. So if you only want to work 40% of your waking hours or 50% of your waking hours, you got to eliminate distractions. So maybe that's one of the things along your path. So let's take your notebook paper out again or whatever you're writing on and write down some things you need to do. I'll give you some examples from my life. I need to go to Orange Theory at least 2 days a week. I need to walk my dog for an hour at least 7 days a week. These are things that are important to me because when I tune into my dog and I take care of my dog and I get my 10,000 steps in, I'm fresh. I'm free. I don't have any thoughts about, oh my God, I'm a terrible dog parent. My dog's not getting any exercise, and I'm getting my exercise in. Another part of my path is that I do a daily meditation every day for 20 minutes, unless it's a day that I don't, but 98% of the time I do it. And notice how I didn't beat myself up for the time that I flew back from Maui and didn't have time to meditate, or the week that I was in a meditation retreat and I knew I was meditating with everybody else, so I didn't do it alone. You got to be easy on yourself with these things. I'm not saying easy on yourself like let's go get the donut and then go eat 5 more donuts because we're so excited about our donuts. But don't beat the shit out of yourself when you don't do something on your goal sheet. So for you, what 3 stones on your path do you need? And by the way, I said no more than 5 values. For the path, it's 6. What are the 6 areas in my life I need to move forward? In some circles, they call it the 6 big rocks. Even in training I've done with your organization, I've taught some of you the 6 big rocks. This is where they come from. They come from your annual plan of what are the 6 areas I need to focus on. So I'm going to have you write. I'll be quiet for 2 minutes. And then at the end, we're going to have Q&A. So we'll have more time for you to ask questions. And do like Kimmy did and interrupt if you need to ask a question before you go on. So 2 minutes to do your writing on what are the things you know you need to do. Not what are the things your mother tells you you have to do, or what are the things your boss tells you have to do. What are the things, the steps along your cobblestone path, the cobblestone along the cobblestone path that you know you need to focus on, give attention to, and dedicate time to for you to be living true to your values and creating the ecosystem you want to create so that you can be of influence, have a contribution, and live in a state of joy. Because after all, that's all we all want, is to be happy. That is the number one global goal for people, is to be happy. So I'll stop talking and give you 2 minutes. This is 2 minutes alone writing. Okay, so now you're going into your breakout room, and same groups as before. This time you're going to have 5 minutes each. And I want you to, here's your script. This is my aim. These are my values. And this is how they're going to help me shape my ecosystem. And this is what I'm going to do. Okay, opening the rooms now. I'll see you in 10 minutes. Welcome back. All right, what I want to do is, for those of you that are at a computer, I want you to put either your aim in the chat or your values in the chat, what is going to help you be aligned, or some of your stepping stones in the chat. It's very, very good to share, because when you start typing, it clicks into your prefrontal cortex, and then the people on the call can also be inspired. Maybe they like some of the things that you picked and they want to pick them too. So let's just take us a minute and put anything you want to share, either of the aim, the align, or the path, in the chat. This gives people an opportunity to get to know you a little bit more, what's important to you. Also gives you an opportunity for people to shamelessly steal from each other. I'm going to keep going. Oh, we got one person in the chat. Values, family, self-love, and travel. Great. More. Keep them coming. So there will be a winding road for you with your goal setting. It is important that when you're setting a goal around family, or around savings, or around earnings, it's important that you give it a very specific amount of time, value. So SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic or resonant, and time bound for your path. Like, I will go, or I go to Orange Theory 2 times a week. And I do that every week for the year. And at the end of 1 year, I had gone to Orange Theory 100 times. I actually joined in June, you guys, and I just got my congratulations for 50 classes. So maybe you'll do a lot more than that. All right, I'm going to read you some of the people's. We have integrity, family, and well-being, family, self-love, and travel. We have 5 more. Confidence, positivity, and gratitude. Bring humanity into multi-planetary species through technology. That's a pretty big aim. Way to go. Okay, so it's important that you know that it will be a winding road. There is no straight path. You'll start, you'll go down the path, and then you'll get a curveball. And those values will bring you back. Your community will bring you back. When you do your vision board, when you set your long, specific goals, I say go for no more than 6. Do whatever you want to do, but 6 is your magic number. Get a buddy. There's 29 people on this call. Get a buddy, not your best friend, not the one you cry to, not the one who lets you gossip and make everybody else wrong. Don't pick that person. Pick a person who will help you stay accountable to go back on track when you get off track, because there is always a winding road. Share your calling with anybody who will listen. Share it. Don't just write it in a secret and put it in your desk drawer and hide it. I share it when I get in front of every single room. It's important to me. Every video I do, I share my calling. It's important to me because I know that when I share it, People will be expecting that from me. And that's a level of intrinsic accountability. And then start walking. Don't wait till January 1st. Don't say, I have all these goals and January 1st, I'm going to work out. By the way, people who do that, people who say, I'm going to do whatever I want in December, but January 1st, I'm going to start working out. They quit by January 15th. If it's important, start now. I see you all in that conference room. Sorry if somebody was saying, I'm going to start it all in January. Start now, start now, start now. Train your brain to be on track. We talked about, I had you list 5 things you like to do. The way I do it when I'm in front of a large room is I do 10. So if you're struggling with your calling, keep listing. Some people list 100, the 100 things they like to do or want to do. And then they look for the common threads. And understand that when you're on track, your aperture will open. And when you're off track, your aperture will close. When you're on track, you'll feel things like courage, engagement, innovation, connection, synchronicity. When you're off track, you'll feel things like sadness and frustration and overwhelm and burnout. And you can listen to each other cry if you just need a shoulder to lean on, but don't cry all the time because then you bring everybody else down. You do want to pay attention to when you're afraid, when you're off track, but just don't live there. Your moods, your moods will create the direction of your goals. If your moods, like I just said, are high, above the line, you are more likely to hit your goals and achieve if you have a positive mindset than if you have a negative mindset and you're always pissed off or angry or somebody did something to you and how dare they. You will always, always be more powerful. And here's why. Because when you're below the line and you have all this noise in your head, you get confused and clogged up, and then you quit your goals. The average human being on our planet has 140,000 messages coming in to their peripheral vision a day. Your little brain, even though it's powerful, it's a supercomputer, it can only hold on to 120 bits of information. So that's why you clear the space. That's why you say your values and you do your 6 things and you have that triangle of integrity that you live in. The average human being has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day, and 85% of those thoughts are negative and repetitive. Those are the thoughts that say, you're not good enough. Who do you think you are that you're going to place all those people? What makes you think you could walk the Camino? Why do you think you can go to Italy? That negative, negative, negative Nelly. Your values, your model has to be so strong. Notice I have a compass behind me and I have a compass on my neck, because if I left myself up to no aim, no path, and no alignment, I would be like a boat out in the Pacific Ocean, bobbing up and down with every wave and every storm and all the wind. But you see, when you have an aim, you set sail for a course. When you have alignment, you know how to adjust the sails for bad weather. And when you have a path or a course, you can stay on track, because those curveballs of those negative thoughts and all the distraction from social media and the news, that'll kill you. So the last thing that we're going to do is I want to introduce to you the 7 levels of individual, group, and organizational effectiveness. When you are in a state of frustration, you're agitated, you're annoyed, you're aggravated, you can only be effective towards your goals 25% of the time. When you're in a state of fear, you can only be effective 10% of the time, because there's so much anxiety and there's so much worry, and you're hoping for something and grasping for something or pushing something away, but you're not present. So you can only be effective 10% of the time. Some people are scared all day long, or they're angry all day long, and then they wonder why they can't meet their goals. If you're in hopelessness, which is deep despair, like really like you're hopeless, you don't want to get out of bed, you need to call a therapist. You can only be effective in hopelessness for 5% of the time. And when hopelessness lasts too long, it turns into depression. When you're in fear, what do you do when you're in fear? Download that ebook I offered at the very beginning. It tells you what to do when you're in fear and frustration and how to move above the line. Check this out. When you believe in your goals, when you believe in your aim, when you know your values and you know you're living in alignment with them, you're creating this ecosystem and you feel good in that ecosystem. And then you're working on your goals and you're working towards your goals. You're in a state of courage when you believe that that future will happen. You're 65% of the time, everything you touch, 65% of the time in courage will expand. Because when you're in courage, you see the whole picture. Your body feels good. You don't have any tenseness, not a lot of crazy thoughts. It's positive. It's in a state of belief. When you're in engagement, which means you're actively engaging in your path, you're doing the things that you said were important. You're making the outreach calls that you need to do so you can make connections. You're learning to network. You're reading books. You're exercising. You're eating well. You're spending time with your family. You're doing the things that being on your path will serve to fulfill you towards that aim. 75 to 79% of the time, you're effective. You're in effectiveness and you're happy. You're in the joy state, 550 on the vibrational scale, 550 megahertz is the joy space. So when you're doing the things you love, now, maybe you don't love your job, but you like it and you know that it's a really good resource because it provides you to do all these great things. Then just make sure you're doing all those great things because that'll keep you coming to work. It'll keep you going and you'll start to bring that joy into work and there will be things you start to like about the job. I always hated reference checking, but I had to do it because if you don't check reference, that's the time that they're going to check the reference. And then they say, you didn't check the reference. And so integrity, you got to check the reference. But they don't mean that much to me, but it's part of just validating that the person was who they said they were going to be. I never liked it. When I learned this model, I turned reference checks into opportunities to get job orders and to meet new people. And so I wasn't checking references anymore. I was making connections. See how the brain works? When you're in a state of innovation, you're in a state of total creation, doing things you've never done before, learning things like maybe learning to paint or learning to play the flute or learning to be a percussionist or learning to sing or chant or do kirtan or learning yoga. Your brain is in a state of innovation. During COVID, I got my yoga teacher certification. I needed something to keep myself busy. I wanted to grow my spirituality. So I signed up for Mount Madonna yoga teacher training and I was learning from all of these elders. And, these are people who were in India and learned from the great gurus. And my brain was on fire with new business ideas. Everything I learned, I was like, oh, how could I bring that into the workplace? 85% of the time in a state of innovation, you will be effective. Even if your idea doesn't come to fruition, who you got to be in the state of learning and trying and failing was someone who paved the way and is someone who paves the way for your next big breakthrough. In a state of synchronicity, we're effective 95 to 100% of the time. That's the highest level of effectiveness. Synchronicity is when we're operating in the flow state. Actually, flow is anything in 5, 6, or 7. 7 is the ultimate flow state. You're in nirvana. You, the Dalai Lama, Gandhi, Buddha, everyone together is humming and vibrating and seeing the whole world. But you can experience this at work. When I used to experience this state of synchronicity is when I would call a candidate with an ideal role for them because I took the time in the interviewing process to get to know them and what was important to them and what would light them on fire and what would be their ideal job. And when I called them, even if they didn't get the job, and I called to share that I had that opportunity for them, state of synchronicity every time. I think that's why I placed so many people, was because I had this interviewing process. So these are the 7 levels of effectiveness. When you're off track, ladies and gentlemen, you will be in a state that doesn't serve you. Deal with yourself in that state, get coaching, talk to a friend, talk to a partner, take a journal, go for a walk, watch your favorite TV show, which mine is 1886 right now. But do something good for you. Do something in your joy state, and you will move up the ladder. And if you need to process those thoughts, don't hijack them, don't ignore them, because they'll come out in other bad ways. Process them, but limit the amount of time you allow yourself to stay. You only have 112 hours in a week. I want to end by giving you a quote. I just got the opportunity to go to the Ram Dass Open Your Heart retreat in Maui, and all the OGs, all the original leaders that learned with Ram Dass were there. And I got an invitation to go to his house where he used to live. And on his desk, the desk he used to work on, there's a book. And the book has a picture of this beautiful bridge in China. And it's on page 108. And it says, "You're standing on a bridge watching yourself go by." That could mean so many different things to so many different people. Being awake and aware of yourself, not allowing yourself to be hijacked by your thoughts, your beliefs, your disempowering thinking. That's how you achieve your goals. You train your brain to stay on track. And I believe that the model that we shared with you can do that. So Kimmy, do you want me to take time to do questions, or are we done?
Yeah, sure, if anybody has any questions. If there's any questions, or anything. Subu, do you guys have any questions? Okay, I think we're done.
Okay, thank you. If you guys want to stay in touch, you can link into me, or you can go on YouTube. I've got a channel. I give a lot of free trainings. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, Maggie. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
You.
you.
Bye.
Bye, Maggie.
If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends. We've got many, 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 many resources. Take advantage of them. They're here so you can have the experience of having freedom and power and joy in a world that's filled with VUCA.